that Lorimer Moseley's been doing on mirror neurons?
I think it would be a really good area to do some research, because I think it would work really well with patients with chronic pain when sort of conventional things haven't worked.
So is it real research, do you think, or is it a bit of sort of like hocus pocus?
Well, it was done with a monkey.
Right.
And
is that where it was in an MRI scan and they were having their lunch or something?
Yeah, they were looking at what areas of the brain were activated when the monkey was eating.
Yeah.
And then they left him, went and had their lunch, took all the food off him, and he was sat watching their meat.
Yeah.
And as he was eating, as he was watching the meat, the same areas were activating the brain when he was eating as well.
So
the actual action of watching him eat made his brain go through the same sort of processes as when he was physically eating.
So how did like Moseley like put two and two together then? His brain's too big, isn't it?
It is. I don't quite understand how he then thought about the process, but he was looking at patients with chronic regional pain syndrome, and he was looking at how he could restore normal movement in them. And when he was getting hold of them and actually like moving the wrist, it was too painful for them. They were getting lots of sympathetic sort of effects. So what he thought was, if he could use mirror neurons and get them to just visualise what they were actually wanting him to do, so actually visualise moving his wrist without doing it, you're activating areas of the brain so that you're restoring normal movement without getting those unwanted side effects.
These mirror neurons, right?
Yeah.
For students.
Yeah.
Just like summarise them a bit.
Basically, you can activate areas of your brain that can do the same thing. You can activate areas of your brain that you would do if you wanted to move a limb or you wanted to go for a run.
Yeah. Just
by visualising it or watching somebody else doing it without actually having to do it. So in your case, Jonathan, you could get a flat stomach just by thinking about doing sit-ups and not actually doing them.
Does that count if you eat too much food though?
No. And there is evidence to suggest that you could get increased strength in your rectus abdominis just by thinking about doing sit-ups. However, the evidence suggests that if you don't eat the crisps and the chocolate and you actually do the action, your results are going to be better.
Is that not like the same thing though, you know, that they do with sports professionals? You know, when you're preparing them for an event, part of their preparation before, I don't know, let's say Usain Bolt, when he's like running 100 metres in like 3 seconds or whatever he does it in, right? Does he not lay down, you know, in the changing room beforehand and think about what he's about to do, when he's about, you know, like, as they call it, getting in the zone? Yeah,
it's exactly the same thing, and it's the same as like mental preparation and the Jamaican bobsleigh team in the film Cool Runnings.
It's not actually true though, is it?
It is true. That's a true story. Cool Runnings is a true story, but he sits in the bath, doesn't he, and he memorises what movements he should be doing and what the course is going to look like, and that's actually getting his brain activating the same areas that he's going to need when he's physically going to do it.
That's a bit like doing your driving test, isn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, you know, like when you do your driving test, the instructor, they normally have like 2 or 3 routes or something, don't they?
Yeah.
And they take you on the routes, so you try and memorise the routes, don't you? You know, so you think about, you know, when you know there's traffic lights at such and such, or there's a turn, or you know you're going to go into a street to do that 3-point turn thing that you have to do.
Yeah.
And not hit anything.
Yeah.
Well, you do the same, don't you? Surely you just memorise it, don't you?
And it's the same with like sports psychologists look at getting you to visualise your race, getting you to think about the things you're doing, and I suppose then you're reducing your anxiety levels as well, so you're also making your performance better.
Last thing then, tell us about, you know, this the dummy arm trick.
Oh yeah.
Because you like that, don't you?
I do.
Go on.
We've got your homunculus, which is your representation of your body mapped out on your brain, and when you lose a limb, sometimes that representation is still there, which is why you get sort of phantom limb pain.
Yeah.
And when they were looking into research and evidence about phantom limb pain, they found that if you stick your hand in a mirror box, so you can't see the hand, and you put a rubber hand in front of it, and you stroke both hands at the same time, so you can feel your arm being stroked, but you can't visually see it, but you can visually see this rubber hand being stroked, and then scan the brain. They've actually started to get a representational area in their homunculus of the rubber hand, and they're losing the representation of their actual hand within seconds. Clever stuff.
That's pretty clever, isn't it?